deep within the sacred walls of Eridu hidden beneath stone and starlight. Enki began the greatest experiment of his existence. The rebellion of the Ajigi had shaken the foundations of the mission. Gold was needed, but the workers had reached their limit. The survival of Nibiru now rested on a bold and dangerous idea, one whispered only in the ancient texts and forbidden theories. Enki would not just command a new labor force, he would create it. Together with Ninma, the high geneticist and life-giver, Enki returned to the ancient art of shaping flesh. Long ago, their kind had seeded life across distant worlds, guiding evolution with careful precision, but never before had they blended the essence of their own kind with that of a native creature. The risks were enormous, the ethics unclear, but Earth, with its wild beauty and untamed biology, presented an opportunity unlike any other. They began with observation. In the dense forests and wide savannas of Ki, they studied the hominids, early Earth beings who walked upright and used crude tools. Primitive, yes, but capable of thought and social bonding. These creatures had evolved slowly, guided by the hand of nature alone. Enki saw in them potential, not merely for labor, but for something more. A spark of consciousness, a vessel for knowledge. In the Temple of Life, they constructed the chamber, part laboratory, part sanctuary. Here, Earth's elements were gathered. Soil from sacred ground, water from the Euphrates, air captured at sunrise, and fire drawn from the heart of a mountain. With these, they would bind the body. But to ignite the soul, they needed something more, the divine essence of the Anunnaki. Not in full, but a strand, a thread, a spark of their immortal code. The first attempts were flawed. The early prototypes could not hold the balance. Some lacked reason. Others grew too quickly and then withered. Some had strength but no mind. Their forms collapsed beneath the weight of incompatible DNA. Enki mourned every failure, not because they cost him time, but because he saw each one as a life that could have been, a being that reached for existence, but could not grasp it. Still, he persisted. Then, one morning, under the alignment of 3 stars, something changed. From a new fusion, more stable, more refined, they birthed a being unlike the others. He emerged from the chamber with clarity in his eyes. He stood upright. He breathed calmly. He looked at Enki and Ninma not with confusion, but with understanding. His skin bore the hue of red clay. His hair was dark as the soil from which he came. And though he could not yet speak, his gaze held questions. They called him Adamu. He was the first of his kind, the prototype. The answer: Enki nurtured him like a father, taught him simple tasks, watched as he mimicked, learned, adapted. Adamu showed awareness beyond expectation. He learned symbols, followed instructions, showed signs of emotion, of curiosity, even joy. He laughed when birds flew overhead. He cried when a small animal died in his hands. He was more than a tool. He was alive. Ninma created his counterpart, not just a female, but a complement. Together, they represented balance. Within months, they were joined by others, each one formed with slight variations. They were placed in carefully cultivated environments, open gardens with rivers, fruit trees, and animals. There, they thrived. They learned to till the soil, gather food, care for one another. They walked beneath the stars, unaware that they were part of a grand design. The Anunnaki were divided. Some, especially those close to Enki, they saw it as a triumph of knowledge, a new species born not from dominance, but intention. Others, particularly Enlil and his followers, saw danger. They are too aware, Enlil warned. They watch us. They imitate us. This is no servant race. This is something else. Enki disagreed. They were made to help us, yes, but they are still our children. To ease tensions, Enlil insisted that humans remain confined to the labor sites, the mines, the fields, the irrigation systems. They were to be trained, guided, but never taught too much. Literacy, astronomy, and the deeper sciences were to remain Anunnaki secrets. Enki reluctantly agreed, but he never stopped teaching in quiet ways. He showed the humans how to plant, how to fish, how to count, and how to listen to the movements of the moon. He named the stars with them, told them stories, sang the old songs of Nibiru in languages they did not yet understand. The humans began to worship, not out of fear but out of reverence. They looked to Enki and Ninma as mother and father, to the other Anunnaki as lords of wind and fire, water and sky. They built small shrines, offered fruits and flowers, and sang songs in their growing language. The gods, once remote and untouchable, now walked among them. But Enlil grew restless. He saw what was happening. The humans were becoming more than workers. They were becoming aware of power, of hierarchy, of divinity. And in their worship, he sensed danger. He feared that if left unchecked, they would one day rebel just as the Agigi had. To test his theory, Enlil demanded that the humans be denied knowledge of reproduction. "Let them rely on us," he said. "If they cannot multiply, they remain under control." For a time, this limitation worked. The population remained small, manageable. But Enki disagreed with this manipulation. He believed that life, once given, must be allowed to grow. In secret, he altered the code. He gifted Adamu and Tiamat with the ability to reproduce naturally an act that would change history. When the first child was born, it was not just a moment of biology, it was a miracle. The Anunnaki were astonished. Life had been passed down, not artificially replicated, but conceived and birthed through love and instinct. Enlil was furious. He saw Enki's act as a breach of divine protocol. He summoned the High Council and demanded that the humans be destroyed or at least diminished. But Anu, the father of all, hesitated. He saw the humans not just as tools or threats but as part of a greater cosmic unfolding. He allowed them to live, but decreed that they must never be permitted to rise too high. Thus, the boundaries were set. The humans would serve, learn, worship but never rule. Yet even then, some among the Anunnaki whispered, it was already too late. A flame had been lit. A consciousness had awakened. A new story had begun. The creation of humanity had saved the mission, but it had also reshaped the destiny of Earth. And as Adamo's children spread across the land tilling soil, carving stones, watching the stars, some Anunnaki gazed down with wonder, others with fear.